You're watching 7 River Sports here on KQEG. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, into fitness. Today, we profile one of the best cross-country programs in the country, and that's our UWL Eagles, with head women's and men's coach Derek Stanley, along with 2 senior superstars, Sam Hines and, of course, Sadie Kroll. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have, to promote and to highlight and to put a spotlight on UWL. Because a lot of our viewers probably don't know the years of success with cross country and all the other sports. But, Coach, 7 years ago, they selected the right guy to come to lacrosse. You had a couple other stops before you came here. But no question about it, you fit the mold of what UWL needs as a cross-country coach. Talk about your journey.
Yeah, I like to think that they made the right selection. The athletic director at the time wanted to combine the programs, and in my previous coaching stops, there was nothing that I did in a single gender format. Everything that we did was combined. So yeah, when they wanted to make a shift, they found the right person in me. So
you promoted that though?
No, I did not. That was the vision of the athletic director at the time, and I was just happy to be, in the right place at the right time.
When you look at the success over 3 decades, 33 WIAC championships, 5. 2002, 3, and under your leadership, 5 of them, and then 35 WIAC championships in the men, and Coach of the Year 2 times. I mean, you've dominated the WIAC. Have other schools caught up now?
I feel like the natural ebb and flow of a conference brings people into the fold, and then kind of removes people. The one unique thing about UW Lacrosse is that we're always in the fold, which is nice, and I think it's because our school is so attractive. We have so much to offer, and the culture of our running program is built around success and winning, and that's something that's unique. I think it's a little bit more difficult for other teams in the conference to hold that sustainability within that competitiveness.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, recruiting is a big part of it. We're going to talk about that, but recruiting the 2 guests we have here, a big part of the success. Sam Hines, I looked at your resume from Freedom, Wisconsin. The things you did in high school: 4-year letter winner, track and field state qualifier, 4 years, most valuable player, runner of the year. I mean, you accomplished essentially everything that you set out to do in high school.
Yeah, it was a fun journey to go through. And I couldn't do without the coaching and all my teammates as well. So it's not just me; it's all those guys too.
Was it a natural gift running though, or did you really have to work at it?
I'd say that definitely has a lot to do with natural gift. My parents are both runners, so I think that their genes kind of passed down to me, because you see, like, our entire family has been pretty decent at running. So I think a lot to do with natural talent, and also, but it doesn't negate any of the hard work that I've done in order to achieve all the stuff that I have done. So. Well,
when you were younger, though, you all of us want to achieve success in whatever field. Mm-hmm. Who inspired you to, and kind of planted a seed you can be a successful collegiate athlete?
I'd say definitely my mom at first, because I see her go out and run 6 a.m. when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and one day decided to go out and run with them. And then also my high school coach, he basically just drilled in my head that I was this state champion athlete that I needed to be. And just every year he just kept on mentioning it, that I need to do this and all that. So definitely those 2 people.
And when you look at Sadie's, she doesn't take a backseat to Sam, by the way. When you look at her resume from Hudson, oh my gosh, 4 letters in cross country, track and field, all conference, state qualifier, academic all conference, captain. You did about everything. Talk about those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, just like Sam, I think just being surrounded by good teammates and coaches that supported you the whole time, and it was fun. It was a good 4 years.
How about some highlights of your 4 years in high school?
I'd have to say making it to state as a team for cross country. That just is the best feeling when you can accomplish something together.
Did you start running when you were very young, and was there somebody that inspired you?
Yeah, I would say my dad inspired me the most. He did marathons and triathlons when I was younger, so I always saw him running, and I started to go with him, and when I was in 6th grade, signed up for cross country, and that's kind of how it started.
The lifeblood of college coaching is recruiting. Recruiting. And finding the right mix, like Sam and Sadie, finding people that fit into the culture, you talked about that early on. You are evaluated in a variety of ways, of course, but one of the key components to your success has been recruiting. Tell our viewers what you look for besides the skills that these two athletes have.
Yeah, I mean, from the general standpoint, they have to have the academic profile to fit UW-La Crosse, because UW-La Crosse is a very good academic institution. It's not easy to get into La Crosse, but once we get past that hurdle, then what we're looking for, generally speaking, we just want people who want to work hard, and be the best that they can be. It's not really about what their ability level is coming out of high school. If they have an interest and a passion in running, then we want to be able to foster that. They might not be able to make the team right away, but if they have that passion and they want to see it through, then they'll eventually make our program and be a part of us and make us better.
So obviously you look at the schools and you look at the list of the roster of schools that have athletes that have gone on to the postseason and done well. But you're saying that the skill level is not necessarily the first component of what you look for. No,
because I leave that up to the Division I and Division II programs who are offering money to people. We're not offering any money to anybody to run for UW-La Crosse. We just want passionate people who want to be successful. And that's the only criteria. It's the only component that matters to me.
How do you measure that? Then when you talk to a student, how can you measure their passion, their intensity, their desire, their heart? Can you do that in a conversation?
Yeah, I mean, when you go and do a home visit with somebody, or if somebody's on campus for an overnight visit, or something like that, when you have some real time with them, and you can get to know that, you just know. I use my own personal experiences from the recruiting process, as well as when we have an overnight visit, they'll spend a lot of time with the team, and the team will be able to tell me a lot about how that person is going to fit the culture and whether they're 100% in or not.
Sam, speaking of recruiting, speaking of culture, speaking of competing collegiately, looking at your resume, we talked about that. You were an impressive runner, one of the best in the state, no question about it. So you had other opportunities. Talk about the recruiting process when you were a senior.
Well, when I was a sophomore and a junior, I was thinking about D1 options, but then I think midway through junior year, I started to kind of look at stuff and realize that I didn't really want to compete for money. I wanted to do it because I enjoyed it. And so I started looking at more of the D3 options and stuff like that. And I think what I liked so much about UWL is that they had the same field as my team back home. Guys who are all passionate about what they're doing, who tried hard, who had a really good camaraderie. And I really liked the atmosphere here when I did my overnight visit. And I was sold basically right away.
And Sadie, of course, we talked about your accomplishments. Oh my gosh, probably one of the best runners ever come out of Hudson High School, I would think. No question about it. And you had opportunities. I'm sure you had letters. People were like, we'd like to have Sadie Kroll run for us, because there's a lot of good running programs in the Midwest. Talk about that.
Yeah, I was kind of like Sam, where sophomore, junior year, I was thinking more D1, but as I toured and went on visits, I fell in love with lacrosse. I knew that it was going to be a good fit for me, the coach, the school, what I wanted to study, everything just lined up.
I read a lot about culture. I mean, it's nothing new, but it's more I guess, a point of emphasis with coaches, psychologists, and so on, developing a culture. Similar to what Mike Schmidt is doing in football. Karen Middleton is doing women's basketball. Kent is doing with culture. You can see it, you can feel it. It's something special. A lot of programs don't have it. I mean, they may say, but they don't. You have built the culture. I know a lot of athletes that have competed for you and before you even came. There's a special culture. Explain that to us.
It's hard to say in a few words, but basically I would use the word expectation. Like when you're at UWL in the running programs, the expectation is that you're successful. And it's funny because it will just make people believe more in what they're doing, and that it matters even that much more. And it's hard to explain. The only story I've ever had that I can go to is I had an assistant coach on the team. He was a meager collegiate athlete, and when he came to UWL to be an assistant coach in the graduate program, he started to run and become a part of the culture, just hanging out with the guys a little bit more, not all the time, just a little bit more. And he got involved in the culture. And I asked him on the bus one day, after he had accomplished something great I think he ran a marathon in like 2 minutes or 2 hours and 47 minutes or 37 minutes. I think it was 2:37. And after he accomplished that, the athletes on the bus were talking about like, what made you so good now? Like what changed? And he just said, I'm at UWL and it just makes me want to be better. Like when I'm around people who care, when I'm around other people who are passionate about what they're doing, it just makes me want to be better.
There's a biblical verse that says, iron sharpens iron. You are basically who you associate with. A culture, Sam, what's a special thing for our viewers? What's special about the culture from an athlete's standpoint?
Well, for the guys' side, and I think the women's side as well, we're just around each other all the time, and everyone has very high expectations for themselves and for each other. Like, the older guys hold the young guys accountable, and we ask that they do the same for us, like when we're not being good enough leaders or setting a good enough example. And I think that it's weird, but most of the Crosse guys seem to just fit into this like really tight-knit group of like type of people that just like, I don't know, we click right away.
Yeah, I can see that too. But we're not going to forget about Sadie, because I want to hear about the culture from the women's side when we come back. So we're going to take a quick break. We come back more with UWL women's and men's cross country right after this.
With our busy lives, it's a comfort to know that we can still remember loved ones in a traditional way with a monument. Lewiston Monuments in Lewiston, Minnesota has been helping families purchase a monument for over 4 generations. You'll find a large selection of beautiful granite, marble, and bronze monuments, all at competitive prices. And they're a full-service company, so they also do straightening, cleaning, and repair of monuments. Stop in or call for a no-obligation consultation, or visit lewistonmonument.com for more information.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
River Sports again today. The highlight is UWL Eagle Cross Country. In case you didn't know, one of the best in the country, no question about it. Our guests, head coach Derek Stanley, along with Sam Hines and, of course, Sadie Kroll. Now, we talked about culture. I've always felt, because we have 5 children and grandchildren, but 3 of our 5 children were really good runners. And I always thought the culture was special, because even among teammates, but among opponents, you're always kind of rooting for other runners, and just something special that doesn't happen in a lot of other sports. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree. I have friends on almost all the other WIAC teams, and we say hi to each other at the races, but then when we get to the line, we're competing against them. So, yeah.
Yeah, good. I noticed the same thing. Well, again, as we tape the show here, you are set to compete in Loyola on Saturday, Oktoberfest Saturday. What do we expect to see there, Coach?
It's going to be a really good meet. When I first put this on the schedule, I didn't realize it was going to be the level of competition that it is, but it's basically a lot of Division I teams, and then a handful of Division II and Canadian schools, and then 3 Division III programs. Those are the only ones that are in there. So it's going to be a really high level of competition on both sides, on the men's and the women's side.
And then I see one meet that I really enjoy is the one in Ettrick, because I've been there many times watching you on October 13th, and then at Luther, and then the WIAC Conference Championship, which happens to be in Colfax, and the Midwest. Everything's around the area in Colfax, and the Nationals in Oshkosh.
Yep.
Last year you competed again. You won the WIAC Championship on the men's side, second with the women. Let's kind of fast forward to what to expect this season.
Oh, I mean, I think if we talked about culture, all the expectations is to bring home a championship on both sides of the conference. Our rankings, I feel like, I don't really pay attention to them a lot, but I feel like they're probably appropriate for right now, as far as the region goes and in the national rankings. So you can never discount the quality of the conference. And we have an uphill battle against UW Eau Claire on the women's side. And I think on the men's side, the best opponent that we'll face, it appears to be UW Stout, that would be the second best team in the conference, of course, with us being the best team.
Yeah. Well, Sadie, looking at what you've done, you're a senior, but your accomplishments up until now are extraordinary, no question about it. Talk about what you expect of yourself this year.
Well, I stayed a 5th year in school so I could run because I love it that much. And this year I really want our team to succeed and win conference, beat Eau Claire, and just end on a high note that way.
But you have every year you've gotten better and better and better. So personally, where do you want to be?
I want to be an All-American again at Nationals, and top 10's my goal this year.
So up until this year, a defining moment in your career, what would that be?
Probably becoming All-American last cross-country season at Nationals.
But your work in the off-season and throughout your career has paid off, but it hasn't come easy, has it?
No, I've had a few injuries along the way and setbacks, but...
Well, like most runners, including me, the weekend warrior, our youngest daughter, lots of injuries because I think sometimes she overtrains, which is typical of runners. Typical of you, Sadie?
That's probably how most of my injuries happen, yeah. Overtraining.
Overtraining, well. And Sam, you've had a stellar career yourself. Some highlights of that, and what are we going to see? What are your personal goals?
I'd say my highlight for all time has been running at Nationals this past outdoor track season, which is at UWL, and just having a home crowd there to cheer us on. And it was really fun. And also becoming an All-American in the 800 and almost All-American in the 1500 as well.
Who would have ever thought? Did you think you'd achieve that success in two All-Americans? I mean, come on.
I think that was always one of my goals, definitely coming in. I usually like to set high expectations for myself so I can have something like this always strive for now.
You mentioned in your resume too that in your profile that your family is always behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Family is, my mom and dad are always showing up to most every one of my meets, even though they also have 2 younger sisters who are, well, one of them's with me in lacrosse now. The other one is also running high school, cross country and track as well. So they make all her meets and then also split to make my meets as well. So it's always nice to have their support. And also, one of my best opponents was probably my brother Joe. In the 800, we'd always be going neck and neck my freshman and sophomore year here, and that was always a lot of fun.
So he pushed you. He was your. So you ask some people who's toughest opponent. They may say another team, another opponent, but you say your own brother.
Yep. Yeah, he's definitely one of my toughest opponents. I never knew if I was going to be able to beat him going in. It usually flip-flopped all the time.
Toughest opponent for you? Who would that be, Sadie?
Ooh, team-wise, Eau Claire. Personal, I would probably say my teammate Becca from last year. We went back and forth a lot and really pushed each other.
You hard on yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? I mean, most runners, including quasi-athletes like me, hard on themselves. Never really pleased, always pushing for more. Does that describe you?
Yeah, I think that's the sport of running, is you always want to improve and do better.
Family support. I know you have a close family too that rallies around Sadie every time she runs. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They support me so much. Grandparents, everyone. Yeah.
Well, Coach, as we look at your roster this year too, you got a lot of freshmen, a lot of new faces, a lot of veterans, but your roster seems to be on both sides filled with quality athletes.
Yeah, I mean, if you take these two in particular, I mean, Sadie, what she's been able to accomplish over her time here and getting through all the, the challenges from a physical standpoint has been just watching her be successful is awesome. Sam, probably hasn't had as many injury issues, but challenges in other ways. Getting him to be able to be an 8K cross country runner, being from a disc speed guy in high school. It's not always the easiest transition to go run fast for 5 miles when you're used to running fast for a half a mile. So there's been just their success and an infinite number of other successes within the program. The team looks they're really strong. They're a good, tight-knit group, and I'm really proud of everything that they've been doing and accomplishing thus far.
A lot of athletes struggle with the mental part of their game or their sport. What do you do to encourage, and what do you do to promote and motivate your athletes?
I think a lot of the motivation, I think a coach is part of a motivational process. I think the most motivation comes from within the team itself, the leadership within the team. However, the coach can be involved in that to a certain point, and there's like certain activities we can do, whether it's making them hurt a little bit more after a hard workout, during like a core routine or something like that, just to sharpen their competitive skills. Or we're going to introduce some games that we're going to do this year just to sharpen that competitive edge. But the biggest part of motivation and the willingness to run yourself, through a wall is going to be because you want to do that for your teammates.
Well, career-wise, now pretty soon you're finished running, unless you're going to be in the Olympics, of course, or get paid like Emma Colburn to run and get a sponsor. But both of you have done well in the classroom too. Student first, athlete second. Accomplished athlete, great student. Talk about your major, your class load, and your career.
I decided to take a lighter class load this semester so I could relax more and focus on those specific classes now that I'm getting to my more higher up major classes, and also I can have a more relaxed time running too. And I'm a computer science major along with the art major, so I'm hoping that afterwards I'll be able to get a job as a software developer or a lead art designer in some animation or video game company.
Good for you. And I'll bet you'll be a lifelong runner too, competing in races throughout the country, maybe throughout the world, and continuing to use your gift.
Possibly, yeah. I think I'll definitely continue running. I might take a little bit of a break right afterwards, and then probably start up maybe a half year, a year later. Then start getting back in road race 5Ks or something like that.
Well, academically, you're a standout too, Sadie, looking at your profile. Wow. And it hasn't been easy. You've balanced that with your track and cross-country career. Talk about the academic side of Sadie Kroll.
Well, I'm in my last semester, so I'm graduating in December with a biology major and chemistry minor, and my plan is to go to dental school next year. So I'll have a semester break where I plan to keep running and competing, and then go to dental school next fall.
Coach at some point at all, or not?
I would love to, if that will fit with my career, but I would love to. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're off to another great season again, and any concerns with any injuries, overtraining, or anything as you prepare for the meet in Illinois and throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, we have I would say, a normal bout of overuse injuries that we're dealing with right now. Nothing catastrophic by any means. So I think we're relatively healthy, which is good. Our athletes are doing a pretty good job of managing their volume.
One of the, as we close the show, one of the you talk about nutrition and cross training and so on. Do you monitor a lot of that, including their grades as a head coach?
Yeah, what I find is that it's not necessary at UWL to monitor grades that much because they're already good students when they come into UWL, and so there are a few that we spend time with, but for the majority, no, our teams are carrying above 3.4 GPAs for the average of the entire team is about 3.4, so very good there. And as far as nutrition goes, we give them the tools, the knowledge, but we don't have any way of monitoring that necessarily. We hope they do.
Yeah, you hope. Each season, though, UWL, in most sports, are right at the top of the conference academically, which sends a pretty powerful message out.
Yeah. We are student athletes, and student is first in that scenario for a reason.
So your statement, which I hope our viewers caught, you don't really have to monitor grades at UWL because they take care of themselves because the student first is I'm not sure a lot of institutions could say that.
I mean, yeah, I would say it's a little bit more difficult at other institutions depending on who you bring in. But I think that the academic life of a person fits very well with the passion of an endurance runner, and that's why I feel like those personalities fit really well. We don't have to try to struggle with their grades too much.
Certainly does. Well, as a graduate of UWL, I have incredible pride in the track and the cross-country programs, along with the rest of them, and so it's a pleasure to have you because a lot of our viewers may not know the success of UWL cross-country and track. So again, our guest today, Derek Stanley, head men's and women's coach, along with Sam Hines and Sadie Kroll. Have a good year, and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with some film clips of a couple recent football games right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is our business.
When you're faced with the decision of selecting a monument to honor someone dear to you, call Lewiston Monuments for a no-obligation consultation. Lewiston Monument is a full-service monument company, serving families in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin for over 4 generations. You'll find beautiful granite, marble, and bronze memorials, all at competitive prices. Their experts can help you design the perfect and unique memorial. Lewiston Monument. Call today or on the web at lewistonmonument.com.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Carl and I were at Swanson Field. An historic night, the 70-plus year history of the Blue Gulls versus the Logan Rangers come to an end as a result of Aquinas leaving the MVC. It was a special night in another regard because it was homecoming for the Rangers. So coming off 4 straight losses, the Rangers would need a win in order to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. Logan showed off its determination in the first quarter as Damon Butler and Kelvin Maven each found the end zone. 14-0 Logan after 1. Only one score in the second quarter as Max Harsey found the end zone. So after 3 touchdowns and 3 extra points by Tyler Harris, 21-0 Logan at intermission. Homecoming king Damon Butler scored his second TD of the night in the third quarter on a 21-yard run. In the fourth quarter, Aquinas got on the scoreboard. After an impressive drive, sophomore Will Cambio scored for Aquinas, and he also scored the extra point. Logan closed out the scoring as Malik Brown caught a 62-yard pass from Kelvin Maven to close out the scoring. Maven threw for 200 yards, and halfback Damon Butler rushed for 93 yards. Blue Gold sophomore Will Cambio led his team with 55 yards on the ground and 3 catches for 20 yards. Aquinas fell to 2-6 on the season. Tom Lee's Blue Gulls close out the season hosting Sparta on Friday night, and we'll be there to bring you the action. The Rangers are 3-5 and end their regular season at Toma on Friday. So from Swanson Field, Logan 35 and Aquinas 8. On to Hilltopper Field, a key matchup. Onalaska versus West Salem, 2 of the top teams in the Mississippi Valley Conference. The scoring began in the first quarter as junior quarterback Austin Larson would score from 1 yard out. Katie Manglitz drilled home the extra point, 7-0 on Onalaska. Another Hilltopper TD in the second quarter with two-way starter Connor Haggerty scoring, followed by a Manglitz PAT. 14-0 Hilltoppers at halftime. West Salem got hot in the second half with senior Brendan Holt scoring his first Panther TD on a 6-yard run. The Hilltoppers would answer as David Luck would intercept a Joe Wopat pass and return it 33 yards for a touchdown. Another extra point followed by Manglitz. 21-6 Hilltoppers after 3. The fourth quarter was filled with excitement as one of the top running backs in the area, Brendan Holt, got hot, scored his second TD of the night on a 6-yard run. He would run for 178 yards on the night. That set up the final drive by West Salem as Joe Wopat found a dependable wide receiver, Trent Foreman, on a 6-yard pass to bring the Panthers within 1 point. Everyone on their feet as West Salem would go for 2 points in an effort to win the game, but a muff snap would lead to a Hilltopper sack, and Onalaska would win 21-20. That sets up a huge game in the MVC on Friday with Onalaska and Holman set to tip off at 7 p.m. We are currently finalizing our postseason schedule for high school games, and we look forward to following area teams deep into the postseason. Check your local listings as we continue to bring you Knights of Thunder Racing every Thursday and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Thanks for joining us this week on 7 River Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping you will have an active and healthy week.